Saudi-led airstrikes have targeted the defense ministry in Yemen's capital, Sana'a. Civilian casualties are feared as some of the buildings collapsed. It comes exactly a week after a ballistic missile was fired by Yemeni fighters targeting the Saudi capital. Now, right after last Saturday's missile strike, Saudi Arabia blamed Iran for it, saying Tehran supports the Houthi fighters in Yemen. Later, a senior U.S. Air Force official said that the ballistic missile used did come from Iran, but Iran says that's not possible.
There have been Iranian markings on those missiles. That's been demonstrated, and there are pictures that depict that. So, to me, that connects the dots to Iran in terms of who's supplying those missiles and that capability.
We do not even have the ability to transfer missiles to Yemen. It's their missiles, and they've managed to increase the missiles' range.
So the conflict between the two regional powers is escalating not only in Yemen. Saudi Arabia is accused of stirring up war against Lebanon. That allegation came from the leader of Lebanon's Hezbollah political and militant group, which is backed by Tehran.
It's obvious that Saudi Arabia has declared war on the entire nation of Lebanon, not just Hezbollah in Lebanon.
The leader of Hezbollah actually went on to claim that the Lebanese prime minister is actually being held under house arrest by the Saudis, calling that an unprecedented intervention in Lebanon's internal affairs. And that's because Lebanon's outgoing prime minister hasn't been seen since last week when he announced his resignation in the Saudi capital. And what's more surprising is that Harari's own party back in Lebanon, who is in opposition to Hezbollah, also think the same thing, that he was forced to make that resignation speech by Saudi Arabia and that he's being held there against his will. Putting the question of his whereabouts aside, there's also the focus of his resignation speech. That's something that's also very important to note. In it, he specifically and ardently attacked Iran, accusing the country of planting discord and destruction and interfering in Arab countries, also warning that their hand of influence in the region would be cut off. And in the wake of all of that, Saudi Arabia and 3 of their allies actually urged all of their citizens to leave Lebanon immediately. And that's a very frightening and open-ended situation. You know, why should they leave? What's going to happen there? And here's where you sort of need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture in the region. And that's when you have to look at Saudi Arabia and Iran specifically. The two countries have, of course, been locking horns for years. And while there's no direct conflict between them, it's always been done through proxy wars. And Lebanon is, in fact, a prime example of that. Hariri, the prime minister who resigned, his leadership was supported by Saudi Arabia, whereas Hezbollah, who wields massive power in the country, is backed by Iran. And that leaves Lebanon caught up in between those two major powers.
Not only it's a broader strategy to confront Iran, because Iran definitely does not start with a borderline inside of Lebanon. Iran has its own borderline. They could go and fight their war there if they want to. But the fact that Lebanon may be actually the reason where they can get out all of their tension against Iran. The increasing tone of tension and of warmongering rhetoric against the Lebanese government in specific, not only against Hezbollah. They're actually warning the president, they are warning the foreign minister, they are warning the speaker as well, that if you do not stop, or by other words, if you do not abide by what we are telling you, aka intervention, direct intervention in the Lebanese political spectrum, then we will start a war to liberate the Lebanese people from the grip of Hezbollah.
Yemen has, of course, been engulfed in their own civil war for 2 years now, and in that case, Saudi Arabia supports the government that was ousted in 2015, where Iran backs the Houthi rebels that are fighting that very government. Again, same sort of situation. They're backing opposing parties. Saudi Arabia is anti-Assad, Iran is pro-Assad, so it's everywhere in the region. And as all these proxy wars are sort of coming to a head, it's the fear that this could push the region into a potentially bigger and more direct confrontation.
And a Beirut-based journalist, Martin Jay, thinks the recent developments in the region are part of Saudi Arabia's broader strategy to confront Iran.
Riyadh is rolling out an entirely new plan now to create chaos in the region wherever it can. And Lebanon, in that respect, geopolitically, is an easy shot. It's low-hanging fruit. There is a great momentum right now, as we're speaking this week, in Saudi Arabia to try and create some sort of military strategy against Iran, to destabilize Iran or any of Iran's proxies in the region. And the next conflict, the next war that we see in the Middle East is going to be bigger than anything else before, because the stakes have been racked up so high in the last 5 or 6 years, largely due to Saudi Arabia's fault, its own interventionist policy in the region. We've seen the emergence of Hezbollah and its proxies even stronger. Iran is growing, Hezbollah is growing stronger and more powerful in the region every single day. So there's an awful lot at stake, and let's hope that these sort of incidents don't push us into that war situation.
It's a busy Saturday for worldwide headlines here on RT International. We're back in a moment.